Hey, welcome everybody. So this is the third of a trilogy set of videos that I have been intending to make. The first one dealt with learning to call to two couples. I hope you had a chance to take a look at that video. Very important video. All new callers, in my opinion, should start there. Once those skills have been achieved, then the next step is to move those skills into a full square. And that was the subject of the second video we did, which I think was entitled Transferring Two-Couple Calling to a Full Square. So now we've been messing with that for quite a while, and we have feel very comfortable in dancing a chicken plucker routine and an invert and rotate routine and various other modules that we've written. And so it is time right about now to take a look at the third and final step. We're in a particular comfort zone at this point. We know we can call to a full square. We know we can resolve. We're using a lot of modules, and we think there's something else. We sense that there's something else. Where do we go from here? Well, part of that realization often comes from a situation that we all experience, where here you are calling your modules, and suddenly, bam, the wrong call comes out of our mouth. Whoa, what do we do now? Now we're not exactly sure about where the dancers are because we weren't expecting to call that call. And it might be, a new caller might be inclined to think at this point, gosh, if I just knew how to sight call, this would not be as much of a problem as it is. And it's at this point that normally a newer caller will turn to mentors and say, hey, I think I'm ready to start learning sight calling. The newer caller is at a junction. And it happens to be a very important junction. It's a very important decision that the new caller has to make. So let's analyze the situation and see what factors are involved. All right, we're at the crossroads. Are we going to pursue studying relationships? Seems a bit vague, don't really know what it is. Or sight calling. Oh, we hear so much about sight calling. I mean, all the really good callers use sight calling and so on. Well, the fact of the matter is these two techniques are not mutually exclusive. You don't just learn sight calling without having some sort of dependency on relationships. You see, sight calling, it's very freewheeling, calling extemporaneously, using the calls that the dancers are capable of doing and that you know fit the situation as you're looking at it. But it's primarily focused on knowing formations and knowing arrangements. You look at the square and you see that they're in a particular formation. You know what calls can be done from that formation. And you look at the arrangement and you know what calls are going to be done from then. And it basically ignores relationship in sequence. Now, in ignoring relationship in sequence, that is something that, well, I'm going to come back to it, but I want you to bear in mind that once you abandon relationship in sequence, you only have one more course, one recourse after that. Now, the fact of the matter is that your timing often suffers when you're dealing with strictly calling, sight calling. When you start to learn sight calling, your timing is definitely going to suffer. Why? Well, because you're calling retroactively. You're looking to see where the dancers have ended up from the previous call. Then you're thinking about your next call to call. And the alternative to that would be to call a call and know where the dancers are going to finish and be prepared to call the next call before the dancers arrive. So those are the two situations. The first one results in broken timing because you cannot be ahead of the dancers if you're waiting for them to get to a spot and then you're going to decide what call to call after that. There's no question about it that your timing is going to suffer, much like my spelling of the word result has suffered at this point. So you need to bear that in mind. That's a major sacrifice that you're going to make if you decide too early to get involved in sight calling. Now, the sight calling routines they don't really abandon relationship and sequence, because in order for you to resolve, even if you're site calling, you must become aware of the relationship state and the sequence state of the square before you can resolve. You need to be able to see something in that square that you recognize. Now, most of the time when you're learning site calling, the site callers will give you what we call a site resolution algorithm. It's a roadmap. It's a formula of what you can do in order to resolve. And there are a couple of very valid algorithms that work with a lot of practice. They'll work. And one of them, of course, is like, pair somebody up, look and see if you have everybody paired. If everybody's paired, go this way to resolve. If only one couple is paired, bring them into an double pass through with a Ferris wheel call of some kind. Try to get the paired couple on the outside. Look at the inside man. Is he looking at his corner through the inside couple, or is his corner behind him? And apply the appropriate call to get them out. That's the typical resolution algorithm that's used by many site callers. And that's not the only one. There are others as well. Now, the fact of the matter is, whether or not you've chosen to study relationships or whether you've chosen to go the route of site calling, you must always remember your key dances. That's an important factor of both techniques, of both management techniques. You must be able to recognize your key dancers. So that hopefully was a skill that you developed while you were doing two-couple calling and while you transferred two-couple calling to a full square. You also learned at that time to recognize your key dancers and so on. But if you did not recognize your key dancers, if you forget who they are for some reason, and you have been just doing extemporaneous site calling, you do not know the relationship of the square, you do not know the sequence state of the square, and now you don't know your key dancers, there's a very high probability you're not going to be able to resolve. And you'll see that happen in a lot of cases with pure site callers. Now, relationship calling, on the other hand, first of all, it does not exclude site calling. Site calling is required in order to successfully use relationship theory to call calls and to successfully resolve. The continual awareness of the relationship state by proximity is known as group theory. So we're going to go over group theory here in this video so that you can understand it. Once you understand it, then of course you have to learn it. Understanding a concept is one thing, learning to put it into use is another, but we'll at least touch on it and give you an understanding of it. Relationship calling can also lead, if you get lazy, to a lot of repetitive calling. You can keep repeating modules over and over again. That's why the invert and rotate module is so important, because the dancers do not really know that you're exercising a memorized module routine because they're moving through different quadrants. And so the invert and rotate module is an important one to own. Now, relationship calling utilizes site calling. You have to have site calling. This means you must know your key dancers, and you're going to use site calling techniques in order to comprehend and know the relationship and sequence state as you move along. Though the sequence state is not truly as important as the relationship state, I like to keep them separate, because the sequence state is really only used in one case, when you want to resolve. That's when you need to know which of the two sequence states, your men in particular, you're in. If you follow relationships and you know the relationship states, you don't have to worry about the sequence of the women. That's borne up in the pairing situations that exist in relationships. Now, you can quickly resolve things when things get shaky. Now, this is the neat part about knowing relationships first. If the shares get shaky, squares get shaky, and they start breaking down, especially your pilot square, because you're still going to have a pilot square, even though you're calling using relationship techniques. When the squares start breaking down a little bit, you know the relationship state. All you have to do is ascertain the sequence state and apply an appropriate get out. Most adequate relationship callers can resolve in 2 to 3 calls. And that's considerably, actually a stark difference from site callers who have ignored, if you will, their relationship state training. If they don't understand the relationship states and how they dynamically interchange from one relationship state to another, then the site caller is on a fishing trip. And that fishing trip is based on the resolution algorithm that site caller is happening to use. But if that site caller is looking for one specific pairing instead of recognizing any pairing that comes up, that site caller can go on and on and on with calls before they can successfully resolve. And you've seen this happen. Most of the really good pro callers know immediately when a site caller is lost, because there's a string of calls that goes on seemingly forever before they finally successfully resolve. So we are going to take a look at some basic relationship theory, and hopefully you'll be able to pick up enough information from just this video to know where to go from here to study it and to understand it. I hope that I've made my point, because relationship calling contains site calling skills. They are interwoven. And so you're not abandoning site calling by learning relationship calling. Quite the opposite. Site calling, on the other hand, walks away from relationship calling and uses an abstract algorithm for resolution purposes. And so site callers don't need to know, at least they feel like they don't need to know relationships. Relationship callers must use site calling technique, and I'll show you why. So we have a situation in a square. We see the square right in front of us here. We have colored our key dancers only, so we don't recognize 2 and 3. Don't know who they are, don't care. We don't need them. We can make every accurate determination of the state of the square using couples 1 and 4, for instance. Now, we didn't have to pick 1 and 4. I think you've heard that before, so I won't go into it. But your key dancers can be any 4 adjacent dancers. We're going to use couple number 1 and couple number 4. Couple number 1, man number 1, is going to be our focal man. And you'll notice that he's in the middle, more or less, of our key dancers. So he's bookended on his left by his corner and on his right by his partner. We can determine sequence just by looking at that specific relationship. Where is number 1's corner in relation to the partner? We can also check sequence by looking at the condition of the men, the 2 men. So the number 4 man is always to the left of number 1 man if the dancers are in sequence, and if he happens to be to the right, then you know that this square is out of sequence. The men particularly are out of sequence. So at this point now, let's take a look at the underlying theory behind groups, and that's the theory of common dancers. Every time that you have a collection of 4 dancers in a square, an adjacent collection of 4 dancers, there will exist within those 4 dancers a boy-girl pairing that will be shared by every other couple in the square. So we start in a static square and we say, what are common dancers here? We take a look. What relationship exists that is shared among all of the couples? And they are all with their original partners. So the common dancers, we say in a static square, are in fact original partners. If I have the head square through 4, or I put them into a corner box, which I just did with a pair off, we're going to take a look at the collection of dancers that contains our focal dancer. That's why we call him the focal dancer, number 1 man. So we locate the number 1 man using sight, right? And we say, okay, the 4 dancers that he is working with right now will have a pairing that is common among all dancers in the square. And the common pairing that you can see is that all men are facing or are across from their corners. So think of a pairing as not just only adjacent, but also somebody who is across from within a collection of 4 dancers. I can pair them up very easily if I need to with something like this, a slide through. And I see now that all dances are in fact paired with their corners. So in this left-hand group or collection of 4 dancers, the men are adjacent with the common dancers. That's their corners. They can also be across from the common dancers. So if I did a reverse flutter wheel, here's a situation where still in that same collection that contains my focal man, the common dancer is across from my focal man. And that's true in every case across the square. So common dancers are across from each other or they're adjacent with each other, but in every single situation, there is always a common dancer that can be discovered, if you will, within every collection of 4 dancers, any time at all in the square. Now, we call the collection that we're looking at a group. So we're looking right now at a situation where we have a group of dancers, this collection of 4 dancers that contain the focal man, and we say that the common dancer in this collection is corners, original corners for everybody. Everybody in the square are across from original corners. The group will take the name of the common dancers. So this group, this collection that we're looking at, happens to be a corner group. This is a corner group because the relationship shared by every dancer in the square is they are all across from corners. Okay, let me do this. Hang on a quick second. I gotta refocus. We do a pass the ocean and a recycle. And we're back into our corner box at this point. All right. So here we know that the common dancers are corners and that this group is, this collection of dancers is a corner group. And they can be situated any which way, any arrangement you want, as long as these 4 individuals, these particular people who constitute the corner box, that makes them a corner group. Okay, so as long as this collection of 4 dancers has these 4 people in there, regardless of how they are juxtaposed to each other, whether they're in ocean waves or half sashayed, or the 2 men are side by side, 2 girls are side by side, makes no difference. This is a corner group because we can find a pairing within this group that is shared by everybody in the square, and that pairing will be original corners. Now, the corner group is not, of course, the only group. We can have all men with original partners, so there's got to be a thing called a partner group. We can have all men with original opposite ladies, so there's got to be an opposite lady group. And we can have all men situated so that they can be paired with their corners, and that would be a corner group. And of course, we can have all men situated in such a fashion that they could be paired with their right-hand ladies, and that would be common across the square. That would be a right-hand lady group. Or if you like to look at the way the lady dancer, if you're a caller who likes to have her eyes view as if she was a female dancer in the square, you might refer to that individual as a left-hand man. All right. So the situation right now is that we have a corner group displayed in front of us. I'm going to convert that to a right-hand lady group. And we're going to do that with half of a chicken plucker. So we know, for instance, that the chicken plucker, let's just keep the standard chicken plucker. Then we do a pass through and a trade by, and there's half of the chicken plucker. And now we see, if we watch our focal man, something dynamic has happened. He has left, abandoned, walked away from the 2 dancers that he was facing, and he has moved across the street to face the other side couple. In doing so, he is now facing his right-hand lady, and likewise the number 2 man is facing his right-hand lady. So this becomes a right-hand lady group because the common dancers are right-hand ladies. So in a right-hand lady group, you'll find only one original pairing. In this particular case, the single pairing is the side couple. And Focal's corner is not in the collection. So if you take a look at where the focal man is, you'll see that his corner, number 4 lady, is not situated in this collection of 4 dancers. She's actually over in the other collection on the opposite side of the square. Those factors are site-based factors. We look at the square, we see the pairing, we see the lack of the corner. We see only one pairing. That's important. Only one pairing. And we see that the corner is not there. This tells me this group is a right-hand lady group. Now let's continue with our chicken plucker. There's a right and left through, the pass through, and the trade by. And that brings them back to corner group. All right? So here we have the corner group, and what do we notice about that? We notice that we have a single pairing, not 2 pairings, but a single pairing of a man with his original partner. And we see that our focal man is in a collection with his original corner lady. Those 2 elements, when I see them, when I look at the square and see them, I know I'm in a corner group. And those 2 elements exist regardless of how that group is situated. I look at this collection of 4 dancers, and what do I see? I see a single paired number 4 couple with my focal man in this collection, and I see the focal man's corner in there. So even though the dancers have shifted their positions, this collection is still a corner group. And it will remain a corner group until either 1 or 2 dancers leave this collection and walk over someplace else. So let's do that now and see what happens. We can do a pass through and a bend the line, and we see that our focal man has walked away from the number 4 couple and is now facing the number 2 couple. So he has abandoned this collection and is now facing a new collection. And in this collection, we have 1 couple paired, the other one unpaired. Corner is not there. So this, by definition, as soon as I see it, is a right-hand lady group. The partner group, of course, has everybody paired. It's probably the easiest group to recognize. If you're looking at only 4 dancers, a collection of 4 dancers, both men either are adjacent with their partners or across from their partners. So let's do this. Let's set up a typical partner line. And circle to a line. Okay. So we have our focal man, and he happens to be in the same line as our other key couple. So we don't care which collection of 4 dancers we look at. We can look at the 4 dancers that are across from each other and look at that collection. In this case, we'd be looking at the right-hand collection because we're looking at the 4 dancers on the right side of the square. Or we can take a look at the 4 dancers in the line, which is the near collection, nearest to the caller. And I'm looking at the near collection, and it's very obvious that all men are adjacent with their partners. So now we execute the call flutter wheel, and we see that all men are across from their corners. Now we have to allow for the fact that if we're looking down the line here, we see our number 4 man is looking across at his partner, and number 1 man is looking across at his partner. So they're kind of once removed, but our eyes don't determine that. Our eyes are not going to worry about that. We see our number 4 man, we see his partner across. We see our number 1 man, we see the partner is across. And in this particular case, this is still a partner group when we look at the people who are across from one another. So if we take a look at any collection, the right collection or the left collection, we can see that it's a partner group. But right now I need to cover the opposite lady group. The opposite lady group is kind of a weird one. What we're going to find with an opposite lady group is this. There are no original partner pairings, none in the collection, and there are only 2 key dancers. So here, I'm going to leave the dancers right here, and I want you to study this. This is a situation that if I look at my right collection, where my focal man is standing, he's looking at his partner, number 2 man's looking at his partner, so the right collection is, in fact, a partner group. We all agree, right? Looking at it, partner group? Okay. Now let's take a look at the 4 in the line. And we're going to pick the far collection this time because the 4 dancers that contain my focal man are farthest away from the caller. So we're going to take a look at these 4 dancers, and what do we see? Do we see a partner pairing? No, we don't. There's no partner pairing in this collection of dancers. No original partner pairing. What else do we see? We see only 2 key dancers. Only 2. Okay? This collection that runs down the line is an opposite lady group. So now we have 2 groups that are opposed to each other that exist at the same time, depending on which collection we want to look at. The collection of the right or the left are partner group collections, and the line collections are opposite lady collections. You say, well, wait a minute, our focal man's not next to his opposite lady. Yes, but he can be. She's once removed from him in that collection. Here, an easy way to see it. Let me get over here and liven that up again. Bend the line. Now, can you see that the focal man is straight across from his original opposite lady, just like the number 4 man is across from his original opposite lady. So now that bend the line has changed things so that the lines, the new lines that have formed, become the partner group, and the far collection that's looking at each other and the near collection are opposite lady groups. This happens anytime the common dancers are not adjacent to each other. So how do we deal with that? Well, it's simple. If we get confused, just try a flutter wheel. If we get confused, try a flutter wheel. And that will make all groups the same. Once the common dancers are beside or adjacent with their men, their respective men, everybody is paired the same way. So every group has to be an opposite lady group. Now granted, this is the toughest group to see. And, this is not the one you should start with. You should start with corner groups and right-hand lady groups until you're bored to tears. Then you jump over and play with the partner and the opposite lady groups. So the partner group and the opposite lady group are coexistent. They're opposite each other within the same space. When you're dealing with partner lines, then you know that the opposing group to that's going to be opposite lady. So anytime you have a partner line and you move people across the street, by golly, you've got to have an opposite lady situation. To verify that with sight, you look for these factors. Find your common man, your focal man, and you'll see that there is no original partner pairing in the collection that he's with. None. No collection. No original partner pairing in the collection. And you'll see that there's only 2 key dancers. Now, you need to be careful with the 2 key dancer thing, because here is a situation that the 2 key dancers are 2 men. But if, in fact, we do a pass-through followed by a bend the line, and we take a look at our focal man, we now see that the 2 key dancers are the focal man and his corner. But still there's only 2 of them, and still there is no partner pairing at all in here. Okay, so these are the groups. Now what about the dynamics of the group? Let me reset things here. the dynamics of the group is how we change from one group to another, how the dancers move relationship-wise and become set up with another common dancer, a different common dancer. And I think that we've already seen, well, with the corner box, that all we need to do is to take any two dancers who are not common dancers. So that means if we look at our focal man, we do not want him paired with and moving with his corner lady, because she is the common dancer in this corner box, in this corner group. But if he moves with the other lady, the non-common dancer, and they exit this collection and arrive at the next collection, they will in fact have done a transition. And the transition means that they have gone to the opposite group type. So the opposite group type of a corner group is the right-hand lady group. So we'll do it this way. We'll do pass through and trade by. And that's all that's needed. So our focal man and his non-common dancer have now moved over to, so that they're now playing with or in a collection with the other side couple. Virtually what happened here was perhaps the side couples exited the collection and moved across the street. Technically, that's correct. But the net result is that my focal man and his non-common partner are now playing with the other couple. So this is a right-hand lady group, and the group has gone through a transition. To transition them back, all I have to do, once again, is to move those two dancers. All right, good. Now I don't want to get too complex here. We just want to give you the idea that this is a transition, and a similar transition can occur in partner lines. Just make sure that the focal man is not moving with his partner, but with the other non-common girl, and or the other guy, as a matter of fact, but I won't go there just yet. You'll find that the transition does in fact occur. Now, when my focal man moves with the common girl, the common dancer, it'll seem like a transition has occurred, and in fact it has, but the group won't change. And the group won't change because the relationships of the dancers are still the same. So let's do that and see what happens. We'll say step to a wave. I've got to bring my focus into my step to a wave. Recycle will pair the common dancers. My focal man, all men are paired with their original corners now. And now I'm going to bring them across the street. So we do a pass through, trade by. And we take a look at this situation. And how did we define a corner group? We said we will recognize one pairing of original partners, and our focal man will have his corner in the same collection. So this is, as a matter of fact, a corner group. So my focal man wasn't a corner group. He grabbed his corner by stepping to the wave and doing a recycle, and then he moved over to the other couple, but in doing so he took his corner with him. And by the way, the other couple, remember, they were also paired with their corners. So since corners are all together in the same collection, this has to be a corner group. It hasn't changed whatsoever. There is no change. And this is the basis for a technical zero. Okay? Anytime common dances move together, you can set up a technical zero. All you have to do is restore the original phaser. Now, the original phaser that we had here was inside couples unpaired, outside couples paired, all facing corners. So we're just going to say step to a wave and recycle, which is the same thing we did on the other side. And we see, as a matter of fact, the outside couple is paired, inside couple unpaired, all facing corners. This is as much of a corner box as the one we started with many moons ago. So let's see if I can get there. That's where we started. So we have one more dynamic to go through, and that is the conversion. The conversion occurs when one and only one dancer exits a collection and goes over to the other collection. Now, in reality, anytime, because we have symmetric choreography, there are two dancers moving. There's one from each collection that's moving, and they happen to be diagonal opposites with each other, symmetric opposites. So if, for instance, I had the inside number 3 lady and the inside number 1 lady, who are symmetric opposites, exchange places with each other, that would be a conversion. It's because in each collection, only one dancer is exiting and a new one is arriving. So anytime one dancer leaves and one new dancer arrives, a conversion occurs. And the conversion results in the group families changing. So this is a corner group that we see right here. If I do a conversion, my answer, my result's going to be either the partner group or the opposite lady group, because the partner group and the opposite lady group oppose each other in the same group family. They work together, they exist together, they coexist. The corner group and the right-hand lady group coexist with each other. So what happens is you break away from the coexisting group into the other group whenever you do a conversion. As you can see, for instance, if I took the number 4 man out here and I sent him over to the other collection, he would have to change places with the number 2 man because symmetry demands that. All right? Symmetric opposites are the only ones who can move, and our choreography will make that happen. So if number 4 man goes over to where number 2 is, and number 2 man comes over to number 4 is, the group becomes an opposite lady group. The corner group becomes an opposite lady group. If, on the other hand, put them back again, now they're back in the corner group, I say, let's take the number 1 man and the number 3 man and have them swap places. Then we end up in a partner group. So we go from a corner group to a partner group. Now, we don't dance people that way. We move our checkers that way, but we don't dance people that way. What we want to do is to find out which calls are conversion-based calls. And they're the calls that are single circulates. So if you have the ends circulate from an ocean wave, or you have the centers circulate, one or the other, but not all, ends circulate or centers circulate. If you do a column circulate, or if you do any of the chain through actions that have people exchanging places in the very center of the square, you're going to experience a conversion. And this, so you know this right away. If I were to call a spin chain through from here, I know I have to end up with either a partner or an opposite group. Now, this is very powerful. This is the type of knowledge that the pure sight caller, extemporaneous sight caller, does not own or control. If I call a spin chain through, if he calls a spin chain through from here, he's got to wait and look to see what happened. If I call a spin chain through from here because I know relationships, I'm looking specifically for a partner or for a opposite group. So let's put that in. Just call the spin chain through, and here I am. Again, and you might say, well, you know, both callers, the sight caller and the relationship caller, have to look at the result, and that is true. But I know precisely what I'm looking for. The sight caller doesn't. Okay, unless the sight caller's been here a gajillion times, and I can see that I've gone to an opposite lady group at this point. How do I know that? Well, I look down the wave, and what do I see? There's no original pairings, and I see 2 key dancers. That, by definition, is the opposite lady group. Okay? If I do an ends circulate from here, I have got to convert from opposite lady back to the corner group. And, I mean, there's just no... I just know this. It's going to happen. So I'm going to call boys circulate. And you'll see, here I am, back in this ocean wave where I have one couple paired, one unpaired, and corner is in the same wave or the same collection of dances as my focal man. And so this has gone back to a corner group. If I say from here, ends circulate, whoops, I think I can just put E there, I think that's good. I can see a partner group coming. I'm going to go from a corner group, the corner right-hand lady family, over to either the partner or opposite lady group, and I just see partner coming. I'm expecting to either see partner coming or not. And that's what I'm looking for, the presence or the absence of the partner. If I have my focal man there, I'm looking, who's he going to get? Is his original partner arriving? If the answer to that is no, it's an opposite lady group. If his original partner is arriving, it's a partner group. Okay, look, we've covered a lot of territory here, and we've been with each other for quite a while. 45 minutes. I didn't mean for the video to go this long. Thanks for sticking around. Try to stay above the fog, okay? Learning to call is a long, detailed process. Folks, there's no shortcuts. No shortcuts. My highest recommendation, stay with relationships. Learn the relationships because you're learning psych calling along with it. You're killing two birds with one stone. And you're not falling into a trap that a lot of psych callers fall into, the newer psych callers when they're learning. And that's all of a sudden, you need relationships, states, and sequence states in order to resolve, and you know nothing about them. So, hey, ciao, take it easy, and this will be, as I said, this is the end of the trilogy. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm always available for comments anytime that you feel like you want to contact me. Always available to speak with new callers. We need them. We need you guys desperately. You might want to consider taking a look at the Central Sierra Caller School, which is an online school that I conduct. Has a lot of resource material, including videos much like this. There's something like over 24 hours of videos on that. So at any rate, thanks again for coming, and we'll see you soon.